ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports television, presents Speed World.
Race day, minus 48 hours. Tech inspection at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Some 83 cars from across the country scrutineered for maximum adherence to safety standards. Then 6 hours of practice Friday and Saturday before Sunday and the famed Road America 500.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. Welcome to the glory days of motorsports. For the fans, Road America means the best brats in the business, complemented by corn on the cob and washed down with a cold beer. For the drivers, it's long straightaways and high speeds. In 1963, the Sports Car Club of America hosted its first professional racing series, the U.S. Road Racing Championship, and the traditional Road America 500 became round 7 of the 8-race series. Carroll Shelby's Cobra team was the focal point of the story, which is told by narrator Les Kiter.
Road America's track is 4 twisting miles, 3 lanes wide, knifing through the rolling Kettle Moraine section of northern Wisconsin. The winner will lap the 4-mile track 125 times, average better than 84 miles per hour, and take just under 6 hours to complete the punishing 500-mile run. At stake, points for the Road Racing Championship of the United States for drivers and manufacturers. In the manufacturers class, Cobra creator Carroll Shelby, whose Cobras were soundly trounced by Ferrari at the start of the season, has realized his ambition: beat Ferrari.
Yes, mathematically we've already won it. If Ferrari won every race, the first 5 positions, they couldn't catch us. They would lack a couple of points, and I can't see them beating us in one race, much less in both of them.
The Drivers' Championship, with just today's race and one more in the series, is far from decided. Bob Holbert from Warrington, Pennsylvania, has a slim 4-point lead over Californian Don Wester going into today's action. Holbert driving a Cobra today, Wester his trusty Porsche. As he sees it,
well, Mr. Holbert, I think, is probably the top driver in the country, so, I mean, it does give me a better chance. I mean, racing against just the other Porsches and so forth. With him in a Cobra, why, his problem will be just lasting, I guess, 500 miles and trying to beat a lot of the bigger cars, which he can probably do because the Cobras have proven in the past to be very reliable.
Holbert feels,
well, it's getting pretty close. And this is a 500-mile race, so anything can happen, really. We've got a good car and a good chance, but you have to be running at the end of 500 miles to get any points.
The Cobras started 1963 with a poor endurance record. Shelby feels now he's got that problem solved.
We're running 35, 40 hours on the cars without even overhauling them now, which is phenomenal. That's even better than Ferrari is. They've been reputed to be the most reliable cars, and I think we even got them beat on that now, so I'm not worried one bit about the 500 miles. In fact, I wish it were 1,000.
But last year's Driver of the Year, Roger Penske, who beat Shelby's Cobras at Sebring in this same GTO Ferrari, sees things differently.
Our car is not quite as fast on the straightaways. We have an uphill straight here, and the Cobras can really go by us going up there, but I feel the braking going down into turn 5 will be probably one of the problems that the Cobras will have after 2 or 3 hours. You know, at Sebring, Gurney and Hill came in after 3 hours with brake problems, and we're counting on this today. We'll only make one pit stop. We'll run 250 miles, where the Cobras will have to stop 2 or 3 times. This will pick up a number of seconds, because each time you're in the pits, of course, you lose anywhere from a minute to a minute and a half.
Wester and his smaller engine Porsche can't run with a big iron, but nevertheless isn't worried about the long hilly course.
Oh, we're geared real good for it. I mean, it doesn't seem to bother us too much. We'll take it easy up the straights, I think, because we're geared a little bit too low, and we'll pull 8,000 if we don't watch out. So we're going to try and hold it to 7,500.
Bob Holbert's chances for the Drivers' Championship depend on the Cobra's reliability, especially with his closest competitor, Wester, in the endurance-proven Porsche.
Porsche's a heck of a good endurance car, which you know and I know. I feel the Cobra will hold up real well, too, but we may have a little more competition in the over 2-liter class. So, again, we've got to keep our foot in it, I guess, and hope for the best.
In a field of 61 cars that includes everything from the brute force Cobras to the delicate Lotuses, from Elvas to Porsches, Lister Jags to E-Jags, the biggest question mark is a sleek combination of Elva body and Porsche engine. Milwaukee Porsche ace Bill Wuesthoff, who will handle the new combination, gives the details.
Well, it's something that is really completely new. The car was developed in conjunction with Carl Haas, Oliver Schmidt, and Frank Nichols, who is Elva. And the idea was conceived some time back, and they've been working on the car for about 9 months to a year. This is the first of its type, and it's running the 4-cylinder 1700 spider engine with a horizontal fan rather than the vertical fan. And we're using a stock Porsche transmission, and this is all fitted into the Elva chassis that's been set up to take this power and gearbox.
The Road America circuit gives all the drivers and their cars a thorough test. Its demanding hills, challenging turns, and high-speed straights require strategy and endurance to win. Race day. Track announcer 20 Grand Steinbach gets things moving.
So we're waiting for the signal from the bridge for that 1-minute bomb.
The warning cannon sounds. The cars are ready. The dialogue of the grid begins.
No one allowed on the grid from this point on. Absolutely no one. There's the grid.
Pace car takes them away. Once around the track, under and over 2-liter sports cars first, followed by a second pace car leading the GT cars in the manufacturer's race. Once around the track for Bill Wuesthoff, Don Wester, Harry Hoyer, Bob Holbert, Chuck Castle, Don Devine. Once around for Dave McDonald, Roger Penske, Briggs Cunningham, Walt Hengsken, and then off under the flag. Chaparral is in front of the pace car into the stretch. It's Harry Hoyer in trouble before the race starts. A broken gear shift lever sends him to the pit. And here comes the pack. 60 cars, the last half mile under wraps, and then leap past the pace car and away. Miles first down the long straight through the speed trap. Bill Wuesthoff maintains his starting position ahead of Chuck Castle as they wind through the S's toward the carousel turn. Wuesthoff and Castle have passed Miles' more powerful machine in the tricky turn, and now lead through the carousel turn and into the famous Canada corner. Roger Penske brings the GTO Ferrari through the pack as Wuesthoff leads up the hill toward the bridge. Lap 1 completed. Wuesthoff and Castle down the pit straight ahead of all the heavier machinery. Don Wester is out. Broken cam lobe just after the start. And now Miles has passed Wuesthoff and Castle to take first place in the carousel turn. And that's the way they come through Canada corner. Castle having passed Wuesthoff to take second. McDonald and Spencer are bulling their Cobras through the pack, and there's plenty of action heading into the sharp turn atop the hill. Harry Hoyer, charging to overcome his early gear shift problems, is off the course, but in no trouble. And now Miles has begun to establish his lead. Wuesthoff holds second, Castle third, and Penske fourth. And so they roll through the carousel, the 98 Cobra showing signs of staying in front all the way. The leaders chase through Canada Corner and up into Thunder Hollow as the tempo of the race settles into a David and Goliath duel. Goliath, in this case, the powerful Shelby Cobra, being chased by a couple of Davids, the Wuesthoff Elva Porsche and Castle's Porsche Spider. And the scrambling still goes on farther back as the heavier machinery works its way past the under 2-liter cars. Miles Cobra, Wuesthoff Elva Porsche, and Castle's Porsche handle the ever-changing radius carousel turn beautifully as they stay in front of the pack. And now a new face works toward the front. Don Devine has pushed the Meister Browser Scarab through traffic and noses toward the leaders through Canada Corner. The action continues through Thunder Hollow as they roar three abreast toward the last turn into the pit straight. Californian Dave McDonald moves his Cobra toward the leaders, and there's plenty of fighting for the inside at the corner. The Lister Corvette's close to flames and requires the ever-ready fire extinguisher to keep her from going. Meantime, Penske's dropped to 6th place, the result of an early pit stop. New York Porsche ace Herb Swan is hotly pursued by Ralph Salyer in a Stingray. And the third Team Cobra, driven by Lou Spencer, has started making its move, passing Swan's Porsche en route to the front. A crowd of some 38,000 spread over the grassy knolls of Road America 500, seeing plenty of action, and the battle continues. Chuck Castle shows his Porsche's advantage on the turns as he sidesteps Frederick's Corvette. Spencer has really opened up his big Cobra and takes over 6th place at noon, with Cobra teammate Dave McDonald in 97 right behind through Thunder Hollow. Road America's specially constructed course throws every test at the drivers and their machines. They negotiate twisty uphill turns, high-speed bends, and flat-out straights for 4 grueling miles per lap. McDonald doesn't back off at all, shooting down the challenging carousel turn. And Chuck Castle battles to stay toward the top, his Porsche performing beautifully. Spencer is after Divine Scarab on the straight leading to the big turn. The Mecom Racing Team, GTO, with Penske at the wheel, maintaining its steady pace, moves back to 4th. Tom Payne's privately entered Cobra is considerably slower than the Shelby team due to gear trouble. And the race is closer than ever. Cobra speed versus Porsche maneuverability. Shelby calls Miles in with a 30-second lead over Wuesthoff. The race not quite halfway over. McDonald pits first and trades with co-driver Bob Bondurant, who gets away in 5th place. Lou Spencer, who's driving the race by himself, pits briefly for gas and tires, pulls out in 6th position. Miles comes in after almost 3 hours of driving, during which he took over first and lengthened his lead over Wuesthoff to 30 seconds. But it's a major pit stop. Gas, tires, and brakes. Bob Holbert is still in the pit when Wuesthoff, who pitted just before Miles, but for only 2½ minutes, roars back in first. Spencer has lost his untightened front wheel and runs the whole course on his disc. Bob Holbert prepares to take over, but the brake pad change is going slowly. and Wuesthoff builds up a healthy lead before an exasperated Holbert finally charges back, now behind more than a lap. Short-lived as Don Yenko, now driving the Meister Browser Scarab, grabs first with some flat-out driving. The race better than halfway through, and corner crews are covering oil spots. Herb Swan slips in the Canada corner, but regains the track without a trace of hay. Luke Stair has similar trouble. And things get a bit loose. Wuesthoff runs into trouble, but straightens himself out without damage. And Bob Holbert, determined to win the Drivers' Championship, is revenging his overlong pit stop. Augie Paps has taken over the GTO, but after a 7-minute pit stop, he has a long way to go. Bondurant and Bill Dietrich, now driving the 73 Porsche, are hard at each other at Canada Corner. And Holbert's not to be denied. He's after Wuesthoff, who has now regained the lead from Yenko's faltering Scarab. Wuesthoff's untested combination of Elva body and Porsche engine is performing beautifully as he fights to stay in front. But Holbert's faster Cobra has chopped Wuesthoff's lead to 3 seconds. And Holbert gets by Wuesthoff just before Canada Corner and stretches it out up Thunder Hollow with first place the only thing in his mind. The Scarab's brief glory, first for 17 laps, ends as the engine blows with Don Devine at the wheel. And that ends it for the Meister Browser team. Hoyer's early troubles took him out before halfway, although he was faster through the speed trap at 150 miles per hour than anyone before his car gave out. McDonald is back at the wheel of the 97 Cobra, intent on moving up from his 5th position. And Holbert is beginning to add daylight to his lead as he shows Don Sussler and Bill Wuesthoff the way. Holbert is in perfect stride. His car, no problem now. Better than a third of the starters are now out of the race, sidelined with serious brake trouble, blown engines, oil leaks, faulty gearboxes. Road America 500 exacts its toll. Only the perfectly set-up cars survive. Penske is back in the Mekong GTO now, but after an overlong pit stop to change drivers, tires, and work on a slipping clutch, he's got a long push to get back in the running. Young Dave McDonald, fresh from his rest, pours it on to work himself into the same lap with Sussler, who's now 3rd. And as fatigue becomes a factor, driving becomes a little more ragged. Lap times increase as car and driver wear under the punishment of high-speed driving. Doug Seam's Dino Ferrari moves toward the front. The young Milwaukeean, 6th in the point standings, has worked to 9th place. And the Cunningham Team Jaguars are taking advantage of the mortality rate and their perfectly tuned cars. Walt Hanskin, driving with Paul Richards, has brought the number 61 E-Jag to a 7th place slot as the race grinds on into the 70th lap. Holbert, meantime, has built up a 20-second lead over Wuesthoff, with his foot in it all the way. The Porsche team of Castle and Sussler have their sleek silver number 73 in a real dogfight with Dave McDonald's number 97 Cobra. McDonald closing the gap every lap. Farther back, Lou Spencer seems unaffected by his solo driving chore and keeps pressure on McDonald for that 4th spot. But McDonald's got his eye on Sussler's Porsche just in front of him and continues his flat-out exhibition. Time in the race, the sleek number 37 Bobsy 2, driven by Chuck Dietrich and Don Wolf, shows its form and moves into the top 10. Up front, Holbert has brought the 98 Cobra in for Miles to take over after a brake pad change. Holbert's 10-10 driving has given the Cobra a 30-second lead over second-place Wuesthoff's Elva Porsche. But that slim margin is quickly lost as another complicated pit session keeps Miles in for over 5 minutes. But Wuesthoff's in, too. He surrenders his car to Augie Pabst, who drove earlier with Penske in the GTO Ferrari, and instructs him briefly on the unfamiliar car. It's just a 2-minute pit stop, and Pabst takes over in first place.
Hour to go, the stage was set for a major upset at Road America. The brand new under 2-liter Elva Porsche was within sight of victory over the big engine cars in the Road America 500.
Miles, frustrated from losing the lead in the pit, puts his foot in it to make up the lost time. Watch this battle as Miles tries to catch up with less than an hour left in the race. Makes up a lap, passing Pabst just before Canada Corner. They're in the same lap now, but Miles is behind 2 minutes. Augie Pabst keeps the Elva Porsche smoothly in front. The checkered flag only minutes ahead. And Pabst will not be caught as he takes the last straight before the final turn at top speed. And then the checkered flag from Bud Severn, first in Road America's 500 history for an under 2-liter car. Miles took the checker 58 seconds behind Pabst. Castle and Sessler's Porsche third, and in fourth, the Cobra of Dave McDonald and Bob Bondurant. Ollie Schmidt and Jim Nichols, who supplied the idea, engine and body, helped push their creation to the victory circle. Starter Bud Severn hands over the familiar victory token with everyone's congratulations for a history-making performance. Wuesthoff and Pabst, the winners. Bill Wuesthoff handled the car for 84 laps, giving it to Pabst for the finish. They own first place for 54 out of the 125 laps of the race. Average 84.44 miles per hour. Second overall and first in the over 2-liter was the Holbert Miles Cobra. They had 3 more first-place laps than the winners, but had too many long pit stops to overcome. Holbert and Miles finished 58 seconds behind Wuesthoff and Pabst. 12 minutes in the pits, just too much of a handicap. Nevertheless, Carroll Shelby and his Cobras win the Manufacturers' Championship, and the new Drivers' Champ is Bob Holbert, the first champion of the new United States Road Racing Championship. What about Cobra's endurance?
Well, I still feel good about that. I mean, they are very reliable. We had a little brake trouble today, which is nothing to do. This is just a real tough course on brakes, and we had to make 2 brake pad changes, which really cost us the overall win, I imagine. We lost 2 laps of each change, and we just couldn't quite make up the last one. So we were a minute short at the end.
Well, for technical reasons, Bob and I are driving one of the older cars, which still has small brakes. And if we had had time, we would have prepared one of the later series of cars that has much bigger brakes, and we wouldn't have had this trouble.
A clean sweep for Bill Wuesthoff and Augie Pabst in an historic Road America 500.
Well, the U.S. Road Racing Championship lasted 6 years before giving way to the Can-Am, which became the SCCA's premier series. Road America, well, it remains at the forefront of road racing in this country, hosting most of the major American series. And the brats are as tasty today as they were back in 1963 in the glory days of motorsports. I'm Dave Despain. I'll see you next week.